Everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind Podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday, December 18th. It is 2024. It is Week 16 NFL main slate breakdown time. Joined as always to talk some NFL, we have Noto in the house. Noto, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, what's up? Officially 7 days from Christmas. Pumped about that. And coming off my best week of the season. Josh Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown hooked it up. So, a little extra pep in my step this week. And we're recording, 1 p.m. Eastern time? This is like my sweet spot. So, love it. We're not up late. We got some extra energy today. Got some extra caffeine in my body this morning. So, let's roll.
Yeah, I'm drinking some tea and lemonade mix right now. So we got it going on. I don't have the morning matcha though. Will Levis did me dirty. Because you and I talked about it. Still, I mean, I had really good slate like overall. A lot of the stuff that we were on the podcast it worked out. Like I was way overweight on Devontae Adams. I talked about like that combination of Rodgers, Adams a lot on the podcast last week, and that kind of worked out. And I wish the one thing that I do wish that like I was contemplating on Sunday morning was like pivoting from Henry to just Strange in my main lineup and upgrading one of my wide receivers. And I wish I had done that at the end of the day, but it is what it is. So still a good week. Had a good week over there on FanDuel. I don't know how close you followed the WFFC fan championship, $1 million to first place. But the guy that was in first place with like 6 or 7 minutes to go in the Green Bay Seattle game, was up by 0.4 fantasy points. And two people, like there was like 4 or 5 people that were right behind him, but the 2 people that were tied right behind him are, DeColts, Steve. We've met him multiple times. Yeah. He was 0.4 behind and had Charbonnet, and Charbonnet didn't get another rushing attempt or pass attempt in the last 7 minutes of the game. And the guy in first place ended up winning by 0.4 with like 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and only needing 4 yards from Charbonnet. Just wild. But yeah, I mean, it worked out. I think I cashed 3 of my 4 entries in that. Again, I was very overweight on 6% owned Devontae Adams, so that worked out great. So good week. We move on like we always do. We have all kinds of slates this week. I mean, there's a Saturday slate. We'll have premium content up for the Saturday slate here on RotoGrinders later this week. I know you and I partake in those 2-game premium expert surveys, so be able to check that out. We have a huge main slate. 11 games on DraftKings, 12 games on FanDuel. Let's break it down. We get started here with Cleveland at Cincinnati. 47 total in this game. Cincinnati an 8-point favorite. Let's go to Cleveland here first. We love the matchup going up against Cincinnati. We get the news, was it today or yesterday? I think it was earlier today. Winston out, DTR in, which I see you shaking your head. I am shaking my head as well. I really wanted Jameis in this game. I'll just be honest. I really wanted the Jameis-Judy connection. I thought it was going to be a great spot. I don't know if I trust the DTR-Judy combination as much.
Yeah, it's a sad day. We only get Jameis a few times every couple of years, and apparently that experiment's over. I don't know if they're just trying to lose games, and Jameis gives them a better chance to win at this point. But DTR has some rushing upside. I do worry about his health. He seems to get hurt a lot when he is in the game, and there's plenty of options at quarterback. So I don't think I'll go there. I don't think he's a terrible option at 4,800. But we don't know who his favorite wideout's going to be. Njoku's probably going to be back. We'll see about him. So I'm probably not going to play a ton here, even though it's a pretty good matchup and they're going to have a good game script against Cincinnati.
Yeah, chat talking about how this is a great Jameis spot. We agree. It would have been a fun Jameis spot. So, I mean, if Njoku plays, I think I play him a little bit. I know we're recording on Wednesday way earlier in the day than we usually do. No NBA today, so Noto and I decided we wanted to get this knocked out because I have a huge, the morning grind will be back later tonight with the NBA show because I think there's 11 games or something tomorrow for
13.
NBA. Yeah. Well, DraftKings won't include
DraftKings 11
games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, yeah. If Njoku's back potentially, but he missed last week. Yeah. I want to watch the Tillman stuff too. We'll see because they did say they're hopeful that he plays. That adds another wrench into things. I don't know. Love the matchup, right? You look at the matchup and you're like, all right, this is the spot you love because Cincinnati's defense really bad. They're 29th in overall EPA, so it's a matchup you like. It's just who do I play? Here on Wednesday afternoon, I really don't know. If Tillman plays, I might take some shots on Tillman at 4,900. If Tillman's out and Njoku's out, I might end up still playing a little bit of Judy. The running back situation with Chubb going on the IR, maybe I take some shots on Jerome Ford because he's really cheap and Cincinnati's not great against the run. I want something here for Cleveland because it's such a good matchup. And the game strip definitely favors the passing game. So I'll be looking at something for Cleveland. I just don't know exactly what with the DTR news coming down. But like you, I probably don't play DTR, and I probably regret it. We played cheap quarterbacks all year, so the one time we don't do it, DTR probably scores 25 fantasy points a year. Make us mad.
Yeah, I don't hate the Jerome Ford call just because he's been such a big part of the passing game. Now I'll get some extra rushing attempts too, but yeah, I don't know. Running quarterbacks like DTR typically don't target the running backs all that much.
All right, let's go to Cincinnati side. What do we like here for the Bengals?
Yeah, so, Cleveland doesn't have a terrible defense, but they've been getting burned by deep plays all season, especially in the passing game. So, got to love Jamar Chase here. Didn't have the biggest game last week, but still, ended up with 94 yards, 9 receptions. If he gets a touchdown in that game, he ends up having a pretty big spot. So, yeah, I don't mind going back to Jamar Chase. And then Chase Brown just continues to get 20-plus touches a game and 20-plus fantasy points a game. I don't see a reason to stop playing him. I do think the matchup is a little better for the passing game. Let's see. Yeah, Cleveland's first in PFF's grades against the run, 6th in fantasy points allowed to running backs. I'll still play some Chase Brown, but I do think it's a little bit better spot for the passing game.
Yeah, and I will say, Cleveland on the season, they've been pretty stout against the run. They don't give up a ton of rushing touchdowns. They give up a lot of yards, 128 yards per game since week 8, 138 yards per game, which is the 5th most. So Chase Brown can get in the end zone multiple ways. It's not always just rushing the ball in. They use him in the passing game in the red zone. So I think Chase Brown, one of the safer running backs. We hate the term safe, but I think he's one of the safer options just overall because of the touches and how much he's on the field. But yeah, Chase and Higgins, I don't hate. I worry a little bit about Cleveland just keeping up with DTR over Jameis. If it's a completely different mindset for me with DTR at quarterback than Jameis at quarterback, I might even play a little bit of Cincinnati's defense this week. Probably would have played Cincinnati's defense a little bit if it was Jameis too.
Yeah.
All right, we got the Giants and the Falcons, 41.5 total here. Atlanta, a 10-point favorite. Speaking of quarterback news, Atlanta is going to make the switch, it sounds like. Penix is going to get his first career start this week. We'll talk about that in just a second. But let's go to the mess of the New York Giants. DeVito plays last week, gets a concussion. We hate to see that. What do we like here on the Giants side of this game?
Yeah, it sounds like Drew Lock's going to start. So I think that improves the outlook of Malik Neighbors. Not that any of the quarterbacks for the Giants are, good for Neighbors, but the targets continue to be there. 10 or more targets in 6 of the last 7 games. Finally caught a touchdown last week. Ended up with 24 fantasy points. And we know we love targeting wide receivers against the Falcons. It's been a thing all year. AJ Terrell has not been very good. So, yeah, give me some Malik Neighbors here. I don't hate the spot for Tyrone Tracy, but running back's so loaded. I did my rankings before the show, and he didn't crack the top 10 in my point per dollar option on FanDuel or DraftKings. So I'll probably play some Neighbors, and that's pretty much it for New York.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. A little bit of Neighbors, Robinson in large field tournaments. If I think Atlanta's going to be winning by a bunch here, like he has 20 targets over the last 2 games. And I know that's a mix of different quarterbacks and stuff, but he's running a ton of routes right now. He's on the field a lot for a guy that's 4,100. And I think a lot of that has to do with like Theo Johnson getting hurt and not being out there. They were using Theo Johnson a lot. And then when he got hurt, they've kind of started using Robinson a little bit more. So listen, it's not even close. Neighbors is the top option here. If you want to get different in tournaments, maybe a little bit of Robinson, but I don't love it. I mean, I'm a huge Tyrone Tracy fan. I just don't know if this is a spot I want to play him. He doesn't have more than 50 rushing yards since week 10, and that was against Carolina. He's really struggled, and he's had some tough matchups, but when you're not rushing for over 50 yards against Dallas and that bad rush defense, it's kind of weak. Going to the Atlanta side, I mean, what's your initial thoughts here with Penix getting the start over Cousins?
My initial thoughts are that he has elite weapons. He's playing at home. He's playing in a dome. And he's 4,500 on DraftKings. So, I love a cheap quarterback. And, yeah, playing the Giants, this is like the perfect spot for him, for a rookie quarterback to get his first start. So, yeah, I'll be playing Penix for sure, especially on DraftKings.
Yeah, a little shocked by the move for what it's worth. I wasn't kind of expecting it. I thought, like, Cousins was the guy, and he was going to be the guy.
Atlanta's still bad. So bad.
Yeah, I know, but Atlanta, I mean, they're still in the hunt, right? Like, they're 1 game back of Tampa.
I think Penix gives them just as good a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely – so I'm with you. I'm going to play Penix too at 4.5. That would be way off brand for us not to play him. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think that you look at this and you're like, all right, I'll take some shots. It's just – who do I pair him with? I mean, the Giants are so bad against the run. Do I just play Bijan and not play Penix? I mean, that is a fair point. I think if you're playing Penix, could you play Penix and Bijan together instead of like Penix London and just hope that like you get a solid amount of the production? And like, I mean, Penix is a mobile quarterback as well. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on like who you're pairing Penix with at his price tag?
Yeah, you mentioned I like pairing him with Bijan, try to capture all the offensive touchdowns. Bijan's a big threat in the backfield catching the ball too. So you get that going for you. They're probably going to drop, some screenplays for Bijan, I would imagine. A lot of easy throws for Penix in his first start. And if you can get 3 or 4 touchdowns between the two of them, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. Drake London's always fine. I'm not going to do Kyle Pitts or any of the, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod. I think they're more the deep shot guys. So I don't mind Drake London because I think he'll get a decent amount of targets here. But this is a game where they should be able to control the line of scrimmage, have a lot of success on the ground too.
Yeah, Bijan should have a day. I don't hate the idea of playing Bijan with the Atlanta defense either, as like a contrarian little stack. Without Penix, I don't want to play Penix and the Atlanta defense together. All right, we got Arizona at Carolina, 47 total in this game. Arizona a 4.5 point favorite. We'll go to Arizona first. Hey, listen, we talked about James Conner last week and how it was time to jump back on the old man legs of James Conner. He did his thing. I mean, he went for 110 rushing yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 5 catches. We go right back to it, right? I mean, Carolina is the team that, like, you just close your eyes and play whatever running back is playing against Carolina every week. I mean, this is the spot we just go right back to Conner, right?
Yeah, I think all the guys from Arizona are in play here. I mean, implied total of 25.75, one of the highest on the board. Good spot for McBride. Good spot for Marvin Harrison to finally get going. I know I haven't played him a lot this year. I always mention, I mean, he's been held under 9 fantasy points in 8 of his last 11 games. Like, he just will kill your lineups if he doesn't have a big game. But good spot to get him going. Connor's my favorite play for sure. Kyler's projecting as one of the top point per dollar options. I never seem to get as much Kyler as the field, but I know he does have some upside with his rushing. But yeah, for me, it's mostly Connor, maybe a little bit of Arizona defense as well.
Yeah, I'm worried about Connor just sniping Kyler's touchdowns. So I will say I really like the price on Kyler Murray this week at 6,100. I think that he has a lot of upside at this price point. I mean, he's easily a quarterback that can go for 25 plus. I think we've seen him do it 4 times this season, if I remember correctly. So I like the upside for Kyler. Would not play Kyler and Connor together. It seems like one or the other has a big upside, but what do you take as Kyler Murray is like out there saying that he's going to get Trey McBride in the end zone? Do we just we're playing Trey McBride anyway, like every week? But like if Kyler is like out here saying that he's going to get McBride in the end zone, like maybe we actually finally get McBride in the end zone this week.
Well, 2 things. I mean, Panthers second worst team at defending tight ends this season, so I like that. But Kyler also said earlier in the season that it's not his fault that Marvin Harrison isn't getting targets. It's like, that is your fault.
But a week after that happened, Marvin Harrison had 2 touchdowns and 130 yards. So
I know. I'm just saying, like he's a weird dude. He's a weird dude. So I don't trust much that he says. But yeah, I love the matchup. I'm playing McBride anyway. So yeah, I'm on board.
The real question is, what the heck are we doing with Carolina on the other side of this game?
The projections like Jalen Coker a little bit, only 4,200, kind of established himself as the go-to guy coming off of one of his bigger games. Adam Thielen's played well in 2 of the last 3 games, so I can go there. But for me, it's just the running backs. I love Chuba Hubbard. No Jonathan Brooks, no Miles Sanders. Good matchup against Arizona. I know we didn't get there last week, but I'll go back to the well there.
Yeah, I want to see what ownership looks like Saturday night, Sunday morning for Hubbard. Like if he's getting a lot of ownership, I think he's someone I might end up underweight on just because they really abandoned him last week when they got behind. They didn't even really use him out of the passing game as much as they had in the past. So that worries me a little bit. But I mean, yeah, his workload is great. The price is good. The matchup's good. I will probably play a little bit of Thielen and Coker this week just because like Leggett is doubtful. I know he's they said week to week for him. So with Leggett out, Coker and those guys should be able to play more. You could even potentially bump up David Moore a little bit, but I think Coker, after what we witnessed last week with like the routes run and stuff, would be the premier option out of those 2 cheaper wide receivers. And I think Thielen at 5,600 is still cheap enough. If you're playing like a McBride or a Harrison lineup and you want to run it back with any of those Carolina wide receivers, I don't hate it. All right, we got Detroit at Chicago, 48 total in this game. Detroit a 6.5 point favorites. The biggest news here is David Montgomery out for the season. Jahmyr Gibbs gets to kind of slide into a 75+% snap share here. It instantly makes him one of the top running backs on the slate because he's not priced like David Montgomery's out.
Yeah, my first lock and load play of the week, Jahmyr Gibbs. The best way to move the ball against the Bears is on the ground. We know Detroit already has one of the highest rushing rates, and now he doesn't have nearly as much competition for touches. Chicago's 27th in EPA against the run. They're 28th in fantasy points allowed to running backs. Gibbs has been crushing with Montgomery in the lineup. Give me all the Gibbs this week. His price is going to be $9K in a week or 2.
Yep. His workload is going to be incredible moving forward in Montgomery. I think you could definitely keep playing St. Brown. We talked about it a lot last week, how that game was going to be, it was exactly what we expected. 42-48. Both offenses just showcasing the talent that they have. And St. Brown had 190 plus yards and a touchdown. So I don't know if this game's competitive enough where he gets that type of ceiling game, but he is still primary wide receiver 1. We see it week in and week out. Like Gibbs, like St. Brown. And the Chicago Bears have really struggled against tight ends, and Laporta has looked really well, or like really, really good here down the stretch. So I think Sam Laporta very much more involved in the passing game now, and could even see a couple extra targets with Montgomery out. So I like Laporta at 4,700 as well.
Yeah, love Laporta. You mentioned them struggling against tight ends, and they're really tough against wide receivers. So I kind of like building the game stack here. Chicago at home. Caleb Williams has been so hit or miss, but and he's got 3 really good receivers. Detroit, one of the worst teams against wide receivers too. So I could build Williams to 1 or 2 of his receivers, bring back with Gibbs and Laporta, have a little game stack. I kind of like the idea of that.
It'd be Allen and Dunze for me. Not messing with the running back situation here. Detroit's been really good against the run all year. I know Swift continues to just kind of do his thing. He had a touchdown called back because the lineman forgot to report or something, which is just wild. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of interest here in the passing game. And I mean, I always feel like DJ Moore is the guy out for me. And I know like he can go for like 20 plus. He's really cheap. I just prefer Allen and Odunze. Odunze continues to get these deep shots and has upside. And Allen just continues to be the number 1 target. His first read rate since like week 7 is really good. So over 20 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, scored a touchdown last week, 13 targets again. So if we're expecting Chicago to be trailing here, Keenan Allen's going to get a ton of work for 5,300. So I don't hate the Caleb. I would probably double stack it if I was going to do it and play 2 of Allen, Odunze, and Moore, but I'd probably lean more towards Allen and Odunze because I like Payne and we like Odunze way too much.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I'm the same way. I prefer Allen and Odunze over Moore every week. I mean, the production is very similar. The underlying usage is very similar. The projections I always love Moore a little bit better. So maybe it's just because we like the underpriced, underowned guys. I'm not sure what it is.
I mean, I think it's that. I think that you watch, I mean, as painful it is to watch like the Bears, like Caleb is actively looking for Odunze. So I think it has something to do with all that, but I like the lower ownership always for very, like you said, the numbers are very similar for advanced stats wise. All right, this is a football game and it's happening. It's Tennessee at Indy, 42.5 total here. Indy a 3.5 point favorite. Anything that you like here on the Tennessee side?
I don't know. I keep playing Calvin Ridley every week and keep being disappointed. But again, Colts not a great defense. Games indoors. When Rudolph was under center, Ridley had some really big games. So without Levis, might actually help Ridley. Tony Pollard's always fine, but again, I just have a hard time targeting veteran running backs on teams with nothing to play for this late in the season. I don't know. It's just a personal bias of mine. Other than that, I don't love the Titans.
Yeah, Pollard, I mean, he got plenty of rushing attempts last week. He had 17 rushing attempts, but they used Tajay Spears out of the backfield a lot in the passing game. I don't think I would go to Tajay Spears, even though he's really cheap, and I do expect Indy to be winning this game. I think this is going to be one of the lowest scoring games of the weekend. I actually kind of think that both defenses are in play. I don't hate the Ridley call. He's still under 6K. I mean, we named off already through like 4 or 5 games, like 4 or 5 guys that I would play over Calvin Ridley at the same price point. So I don't think I get to anybody from Tennessee this week. And then on the Colts side, I mean, maybe a little bit of Indy's defense with Jonathan Taylor, but this team's a mess too. I love the workload that Jonathan Taylor has been getting. I was really high on Richardson last week, and I mean, he just could not make a pass look good at all. So he was painful. I think it's a little bit of Taylor and a little bit of Indy's defense for me.
Yeah, I actually like Anthony Richardson a little more than you do. The rushing upside is always there. 10, 9, and 7 rushing attempts the last 4 games. He's had at least 32 rushing yards in each of the last 6 games. So he can get there even if, he's not completing passes. Tennessee's defense has been pretty awful the last month or so. So I'll play some Richardson. Don't really think you need to pair him up with his wideouts. And don't hate the Jonathan Taylor call, but, man, there's so many good running backs this week.
Yeah, Richardson, I mean, he has at least 1 rushing touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games. So, like you mentioned, you could definitely, get a rushing touchdown and 50 rushing yards, and he throws for 200 yards and a touchdown, and you're right over 20 fantasy points at 5,400. So I hear you. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias because of how much he burned me last week.
So we still ended with 16. That's not like terrible.
He was awful. I don't know how much you watched that game, but
so I was actually at I had a full day of family obligations. I was at Paw Patrol Live, which was like a 2-hour on ice event. And then I had everyone over to build ornaments and gingerbread houses. So yeah, I didn't watch any football on Sunday, and I had my best week yet. So
wow. You're not watching this Sunday either, right? Let it ride.
What's that? I'll watch this Sunday.
No, I'm saying, hey, man, you just had your best week. I'm superstitious. I play baseball way too long.
No, I get you, but I can't stay away if I have the option.
I know, I'm the same way. All right, we got Rams and Jets, 46 total in this game. Rams a 3.5-point favorite. We'll go to the Rams side here. What do we like for LA?
Like Puka Nacua, like him a lot. Gets there every week. Target share has been great, at least 17 fantasy points in 6 straight games. The Jets have some good outside cornerbacks, but I mean, Sauce Gardner's been struggling. They've been giving up some big games recently. Just gave up a huge game to Brian Thomas last week against the Jaguars. So I'll play some Puka. Don't mind Kieran Williams. Running backs have had a lot of success against the Jets. He's just another good running back option on a slate where I want to play 10 of them. So it's going to be tough to kind of narrow down the player pool at running back. But Puka is by far my favorite.
Do we dare play Cooper Kupp a little bit this week after everything that has been on social media for the last week about him scoring 0 fantasy points? And like, I don't know. I mean, he's 6,500. He could go for 20 plus. He's gone for 20 plus fantasy points 3 out of his last 5 games. I think a lot of people are going to are burned in like their fantasy home playoff like season longs. I think Cooper Kupp might be lower owned this week. I'm with you. I prefer Nacua over Kupp, but I think I'll play a little bit of Cooper Kupp this week. And I'm going to play the passing game on both sides of this game, probably more than the field, just because like I feel like Aaron Rodgers just wants to win out and kind of hurt the draft stock of the Jets more than anything else after everything that's gone down. And yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams had 0 catches at halftime last week and finished the game with 9 catches for 198 and 2 touchdowns. I think we keep doing it. The Rams are not great against the pass. We've been targeting this pass offense all year. They struggle against the run too, but the Jets can't get anything going on the ground. So I think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers come out and chuck again. So I'm going to play a little bit of Adams and Wilson this week.
Yeah, we finally saw a ceiling game from Aaron Rodgers, 30 fantasy points. Didn't think that was possible in the year 2024. But yeah, he's playing, with more motivation now than he has all season, which is so dumb. The guy's just so interesting. But yeah, Devontae Adams has been crushing. Garrett Wilson's probably going to be lower owned, so don't mind looking at him in tournaments. You can double stack him, especially if you want to bring him back with Puka, make a nice little game stack. I'm probably going to be overweight on both of these teams.
Aaron Rodgers ran for 45 yards last week. Yeah. He knows they're officially eliminated from the playoffs. I realistically, my mindset is they want to win games to hurt the draft stock. Because I don't think Rodgers will be in a Jets uniform next year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Rodgers will be in a Jets uniform next year. But I think it's the passing attack. I don't even know if I would necessarily want to play Rodgers. He is pretty cheap at 5,600, but I definitely want to go back to Adams and Wilson. We saw a huge game for Adams last week. We saw Wilson have a good first half, and then Devontae Adams just kind of took over with a couple long plays. So I think both of them have some upside here.
Yep, same.
I got Philadelphia at Washington going 45.5 here. Philadelphia 3.5-point favorite. I think this would be a good football game. I'm worried about it fantasy-wise. What do we like here for Philadelphia?
Kind of like everyone because it's a good spot. It's going to be a competitive game, so we can expect a lot from passing game, the rushing game. Saquon has been quiet the last couple weeks. I think he's going to have a breakout performance against Washington. Hurts is cheap, especially on FanDuel. You can get him well under 9K. So I like him. I like AJ Brown in tournaments. Yeah, with no Dallas Goedert, I think just this offense is so concentrated that you can play any of them, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it week in and week out. Without Goddard, I love playing Devontae Smith. I mean, he just gets so many more of these like underneath checkdowns. He had 11 catches last week. So I think we keep taking some shots on Devontae Smith at 5,800. I like the AJ Brown call. I think Saquon has a monster game. And I don't think he's going to have a ton of ownership. So I think he is a fantastic tournament play this week. We keep talking about running backs. There's a lot of good running back plays this week. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's a lot of really good running back plays. I think running back ownership, we don't have like projected ownership this early. I was looking at this Saturday. I was pulling up lineup HQ to see what projected ownership on Barkley was, but we don't have projected ownership up yet. So I don't expect Barkley to have a ton of ownership because even like in his price range, Chase Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs project over him fantasy points wise. So, and then Bijan has an incredible spot as well. So I think Saquon could be that like low owned tournament play that has a lot of upside this week. So I don't mind taking some shots on Saquon. And then, yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts always in play. 7,800 is a good price tag for a guy that can rush the ball in 3 times in a game. So a lot of talk about like Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts has very similar ceiling at a much cheaper price tag. All right, we got Minnesota and I guess the Washington side of this game. Was completely ready to skip over them. What do you like here for Washington?
Yeah, so Philly D's been so good lately, but man, I love Terry McLaurin. Nobody plays him ever. He doesn't project well for whatever reason. Pull up his game log. I mean, 26, 27, 24 points the last 3 weeks, and he's had over 19 in 4 other weeks so far this season. Noah Brown is on IR, and then Zach Ertz might miss this game, left in the first quarter last week. So I think it's a great spot for McLaurin. They might be trailing too, might put up some points. One of my favorite tournament plays of the week.
Yeah, I think the McLaurin combination with Daniels, finally what Terry McLaurin needed. I'm just worried about the matchup. This is a really, really tough matchup. Last time these two teams played, he had 2 targets. He had 1 catch for 2 fantasy points. It was the worst game that he's had over the worst game all year, really, outside of maybe week 1. I hate the matchup. He's 7,300 now. It's not like we're paying 5,800 for McLaurin. So I'm worried about the matchup just in general. It's a really tough spot. I'll probably end up playing a little bit of Philadelphia's defense here, even though like Daniels has been great and he's at home. I'm struggling because, yeah, I mean, I think this is a really, really tough spot. Maybe a little bit of Robinson, but McLaurin would be the option if I was going to play anybody in the passing game.
Yeah.
Dude, the Phillies defense, what a turnaround from the beginning of the year. They have been, I think they've been the best defense over the last like 6, 7, 8 weeks. So watch out for that defense. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was about to say like one of the best underrated defenses all year has been Minnesota. And that's the game we're going to. Minnesota at Seattle, 42.5 total here. Minnesota, 3.5 point favorite. I am on team Minnesota winning out for what it's worth. I don't know where everybody else is, but I have a bet from earlier this year, the Minnesota to have the best record in the NFC in the regular season. And I think it's like plus 2,500 or something. So I am on because they win the tiebreaker against Philadelphia. Yeah, it's plus 2,500 NFC winner regular season Minnesota. So, yeah. And I had a profit boost on it too. So anyway, I'm on team Minnesota winning out. I think they keep it going here. Aaron Jones has looked really good. I think another running back that you could potentially look at in the mid-range. I don't think he has the ceiling. I like Addison and Jefferson. I'm a little worried about the weather in this game. It's one of those weather games that we have to watch to see. What are your thoughts here on Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm worried about the weather. It's early in the week, but the total is really low, 42.5. Just don't love. Jefferson's been getting there, but he's still, he needs like 25 to 30 to pay off his price point. I'd take some shots on TJ Hawkinson. I think Seattle struggled against tight ends. Yeah, they're 19th. So not great, not terrible. I think Minnesota will play well. I think they'll probably pick up the win, but I think it'll be a pretty low scoring game.
Anything that you like here on the Seattle side?
So Minnesota, you mentioned how good their defense has been. They've been elite against the run. They've been elite against tight ends, and they've been really bad against receivers because they've been playing with leads, and there's been a lot of garbage time racked up against them. Saw it again last week on Monday night. So I'll play some JSN. I'll play some DK Metcalf. I mean, I know Metcalf's been terrible, but 5,500 in a spot where they're probably going to be airing it out. I'll keep an eye on the weather, but he's at least somewhat interesting to me. And then Charbonnet, just from volume alone, 6K if Kenneth Walker's out. Is Walker? I haven't checked the.
They said that his status, but he worked out on Monday and it was a good workout. They also expect Geno to kind of practice this week. I mean, if Geno's out, Minnesota's defense might be my highest on defense with Howell at quarterback. So I would be way underweight on Seattle as a whole if Geno doesn't play. I think you're probably with me. We're only playing like JSN and DK if Geno gives it a go.
Yeah, for sure. Did I click on something?
No, you're good.
There we go. Yeah, perfect scenario for me would be Geno out and Kenneth Walker active. That way I can just avoid Seattle as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, if Geno plays, I have interested in JSN. DK Metcalf is 5,500 on DraftKings. Yeah, if Geno plays, I'll probably end up playing a little bit of DK Metcalf at that price point. It's just too low.
Yep. Same.
New England and Buffalo. 46.5 total here. Buffalo, a 14-point favorite. They have a 30.25 implied team total, highest implied team total on the slate. 14-point favorites at home. Anything on the New England side that you might play here?
I mean, I don't know. So Buffalo's defense, they've been elite pretty much all year until the last 2 weeks, and they've just been giving up, tons of yards, tons of points. Granted, it was against two very good offenses in the Rams and the Lions, but man, if we can get like a Drake May ceiling game, I think that would be fun. It would definitely provide some pushback for the Buffalo side of things. I just don't trust it. I'll play a little Hunter Henry because I do every week, and I'm disappointed every week. And like we talked about, eventually he's going to find the end zone again. Might be next year, but it's going to happen at some point. I want the Patriots to be good in this spot. I just don't know if I'm going to play much of them.
I mean, they're going to be trailing so much in this game. I think we have to take some shots on Hunter Henry, like you mentioned. I might even play a little bit of like Demario Douglas. Even like that. That sounds painful. I mean, I think the contrarian play in this game, and it's not too crazy, is maybe taking some shots on Austin Hooper. He's very much involved in the passing game. They're going to be trailing a lot. I mean, I could see Austin Hooper even potentially getting there. I mean, he's scored at least 7 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. He's 3,100. No one's going to play him. As much as I like playing Henry, I might even play a little bit of Austin Hooper to be different this week. Because I don't even think like Austin Hooper comes out of the game if Buffalo's up by 3 touchdowns in the second half. So I am worried about Hunter Henry coming out of the game in that scenario. So Austin Hooper at 3,100, I think, is a really interesting contrarian play this week. Buffalo, I mean, they should absolutely hammer New England in this spot. It's just whether or not we think it's Cook or Allen or both or the defense. I don't know what to play here for Buffalo.
I don't either. I mean, Allen's going to project very well. Obviously, coming off of 2 huge games, 55 against the Rams, 44 against the Lions. Just unreal run that he's been on. Now they're doing the tush push anytime they get inside the 1-yard line. So I think Allen's going to play well. I just don't know if he's going to play the fourth quarter at all. And that's kind of tough when he's 8,700. I think it's a good spot for Cook, too. Still don't trust any of these receivers. But man, if they put up 30 3/4, one of either Allen or Cook's probably going to get there.
I think I'm going to be underweight on Allen this week. And I know that's super scary, but I don't think New England's going to be able to keep up. Yeah. You know, why Allen had such high ceiling games the last 2 weeks is because Detroit and LA were able to keep up. I think we see a very similar San Francisco game. I mean, listen, Buffalo Bills, I think it's like 6 or 7 straight games they've scored at least 30 points. So you expect that to happen. But the San Francisco game, Josh Allen had 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, and put up 28 fantasy points. That's a fantastic line. I just don't think 28 fantasy points at 8,700 at quarterback kills me this week. So I don't think. I mean, if you are playing Josh Allen, I think you have to play 2 New England players. That's how I look at it. Like you have to be stacking New England heavy if you're playing Josh Allen. And you keep playing Josh Allen by himself if you want, because the wide receiver expectations are extremely low. Amari Cooper, after getting 14 targets against the Rams, had 0 targets last week and was on the field under half the, like it was like 30 or 32. I think Shakir is the only wide receiver you could potentially play here for Buffalo. Yeah. I mean, I think the only way you play Josh Allen is if you play 2 New England players. Like if I was playing Josh Allen on lineup HQ, I'd make sure that I have at least 2 New England players with him.
Love that, especially in large field stuff, because if Allen's going to have that ceiling game, you're going to need some pushback, like you mentioned. So really like your thought process going through that. And that's something just everyone needs to think about when they're building lineups. Like what needs to happen from the other team for Josh Allen to really have a huge game. And we saw it the last 2 weeks. I mean, the Rams put up a ton of points. The Lions put up a ton of points. And that's why Allen was able to have such big games. So I like your thought process there.
Jacksonville at Las Vegas. This is a football game. It's happening. 39.5. Vegas a 1-point favorite. Neither team wants to win this game. Go to Jacksonville first. It sounds like Mac Jones will play quarterback again. He actually looked competent against a tough Jets defense. Brian Thomas, I don't think we can overlook 36 targets in three weeks for Brian Thomas Jr. I think we keep playing him. If Ingram's out, I think Ingram is out, so we go back to Strange here at 3,500, and we just kind of call it a day there. I don't think I want to touch the running game with like ETN and Bigsby still both involved. So for me, it's just playing Thomas and playing Strange.
Yeah, it's weird. I love both at their price points, and I want no Mac Jones. To quote my dude, Kurt Deese, you never play these country club kids because they'll always burn you. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. Love Brian Thomas. He's getting a mix of like deep and short targets. So, I mean, no Christian Kirk, no Evan Ingram. Strange had 12 targets last week. That's or 11 targets last week. Oh, yeah, 12, sorry. Caught 11 of them. So, yeah, I'll play both of them. And maybe I think I prefer Aiden O'Connell if I am playing a quarterback from this game, assuming he's able to suit up. Desmond Ridder was pretty bad last week on Monday night.
He wasn't good. He was the highest scoring quarterback on the Monday night slate.
So he completed that long pass to Jacoby with like 8 seconds left. And then all of a sudden I was cashing everything. And then he threw the pick on the last play, so it cost me like $700. That was annoying.
Yeah. I moved up in everything. I was way overweight. So on lineup HQ, when I was building out my script, I made a group of McCormick and Ridder of 1 of 1. I only wanted 1 in each lineup. And when McCormick was crushing early, it was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. And then he got hurt, and I was like, man, Ridder sucks and McCormick's out, so probably going to be a rough night for me. And then Ridder kind of ended up being the highest scoring quarterback, which is weird. But yeah, I mean, I want AOC to play in this game. I want to play AOC if he plays in this game. If AOC plays, I want to play Myers. I want to play Bowers. It's an incredible stack spot. My concern is like this game is just ugly and both teams want to lose. But I mean I think that's a fair concern. But I mean, gosh, you look at the numbers, you look at the matchup, and you're like, I want to play both passing offenses against each other because both these defenses suck against the pass. So, I mean, that's my initial thoughts here is I'm going to attack the passing game, keep playing Bowers. I want AOC to play. I don't think Ridder has as much upside. And, I mean, if they really want to lose this game, they should just let Ridder play. But, yeah. Anyway. I think they want to kind of see what they have in AOC, especially because they're going to have a really early draft pick, but we'll see. We finish out the DraftKings slate with San Francisco at Miami, 44.5 total. Miami, a 1-point favorite here on the road. Miami not technically eliminated from the playoffs last week, but they're in a rough spot now. They need a lot to happen. San Francisco on the other side, I mean, they're not officially eliminated from the playoffs either. So, like, must win. You lose this game, you're out of the playoffs. So, I mean, that's kind of appealing. What do we like here for the 49ers?
So I'm going to keep playing Juwan Jennings. I know Deebo Samuel goes way too cheap, but he just hasn't done much. Jennings has been pretty much the top receiver for them ever since Brandon Ayuk went down. If you're playing Deebo, just go through and look at his game log. 4 points, 5 points, 5 points, 3 points, 6 points, 12 points, 12 points. Like, he's disappointing every week, even at a cheap salary. So I don't want to play Deebo here. Love Jennings. I don't know. What are you doing with the backfield? And are you playing any George Kittle? He's so expensive this week.
Yeah, my problem with Kittle is, like, he is in that McBride Bowers price range, and I think I just click their names over him every time.
Yep.
And then if I'm not, like, paying up there, I'm going to go down to Hawkinson, Laporta, or just go cheap. So I don't think I get the Kittle. I hardly ever play George Kittle, for what it's worth. I mean, I do think George Kittle with Ayuk and McCaffrey out is very playable. I just don't ever get there. Probably a mistake. I mean, I'm with you on Jennings. I'm going to keep playing Jennings. Grendo at 6,700 just seems too expensive, but I mean, I think we have to remember just how good the running scheme is for San Francisco, like the running block scheme. Like, they have the best PFF grade for run blocking this season. They just are incredible. So I think he's going to have opportunities, and I think he breaks like 1 or 2 big runs. So I think in tournaments you could potentially take it. I just feel like the price tag is a little too high, but I mean, I guess if you think about McCaffrey and Mason and Mitchell all being on the IR, Grendo is going to get as much as he can kind of handle here. So I think it's Jennings and Grendo for me on the San Francisco side.
Yep.
And then on the Miami side, I don't know what to do with Miami here. I think they want to win this game, so I think I want to play a little bit of Tyreek at home, where we don't really have to worry about like a snowy type of game or cold weather. I mean, it's supposed to be like 70 on Sunday in Florida. I live in Florida, so I mean, maybe I play a little Tyreek and hope it happens. But I mean, San Francisco has been really bad against the run here recently. I definitely want to play some Achane, another running back play that's on my list to add to all the other ones.
Yeah, I was going to say Devon Achane, one of my favorite plays of the week. He's 7,400. I don't think a lot of people are going to go there based on the early ownership and actual projections. He's just not projecting as well as some of the other guys at the running back position. But you mentioned that San Francisco, 27th in PFF run grades, 28th in EPA against the run. Even with Mostert back last week, he still had 12 carries and 7 receptions. So he's going to get like 20 touches in this one of the best matchups on the board, at home, good weather. I think it's a great spot for Achane. Don't mind going to Tyreek in tournaments. Just probably won't have as much as I do Achane.
I mean, Jonnu Smith, over 8 targets in 4 of his last 5 games. He's 5,500. I think I would play Jonnu over Kittle. I mean, Jonnu has at least 1 touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games, too. He's been a very big part of this past game, and Waddle got hurt last week, so watch that news. He's questionable right now with a knee, did not practice Wednesday. They did say on Sunday it wasn't anything major, so I mean, he could potentially play, but if he's out, I mean, bump up Jonnu a little bit more. If Waddle's out, Malik Washington is someone else you could take a shot on here at 3,700. They really like this kid. He's another like fast kind of guy. Miami just has a ton of speed. DeBose got put on the IR, so I think if Waddle sits this game, Malik Washington probably slides into like wide receiver 2 with OBJ released last week. I don't think it'd be Craycraft. So I think if Waddle's out, you could take some shots here on Malik Washington. Signed off by a Dolphins fan. rough year, man. Rough year. When Tua went down, you knew it was gonna be a rough year, but kind of stinks. But anyway, all right. Sunday Night Football. I mean, I love this for FanDuel because this is one of the best games on the weekend. It's a 48 total. It's Tampa Bay at Dallas. Tampa's a 4-point favorite. Sorry. Starting with the Tampa side here. First, I mean, Bucky should have a field day against this Dallas defense. You always worry a little bit about White. You know, you talked last week about how Evans had to average X amount of yards per game to get to his 1,000 yards. He came off of a 159 game in a tough matchup against the Chargers. McMillan is doing his thing right now as well, and he's cheap. Like, very, very interested in this game on FanDuel this week, where I feel like the last 3 or 4 weeks we've been like, Sunday Night Football, cares that much. But this game, I mean, I really like the Tampa side of this game.
I've never been a Buccaneers fan, never been a big fan of Baker Mayfield, but man, they've won me over this year. It's such an easy team to root for. They've been shorthanded, and they just keep playing so well. They keep putting up so many points. They've treated me well in DFS, which is always a way to my heart. So, yeah, I mean, Baker's been over 27 in 5 of his last 10 games. That's Lamar Jackson type of upside. Good matchup against Dallas. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Mentioned it's a good spot for Bucky Irving, good spot for Mike Evans. McMillan's cheap. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. Probably going to have at least one Buccaneers player on every FanDuel build that I make this week.
Yeah, I'm going to be way overweight on this game on both sides. I mean, even going to the Cooper Rush side of this game, I mean, he threw for 3 touchdowns. He has multiple passing touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. Tampa, they've kind of been this like funnel defense recently where they have been really stout against the run, only allowing 70 rushing yards per game over the last since week 8, which is the lowest in the NFL, but kind of getting torched through the air. So I think I trust Cooper Rush here a little bit and play a little bit of CD. He's really expensive, but I mean, he had 13 targets again last week, scored a touchdown for the 2nd straight week. I don't mind Ferguson as a cheap tight end. I want to keep attacking this Tampa pass defense.
Yeah, I agree. Like CD, for whatever reason, Schoonmaker was going nuts with Cooper Rush, the quarterback, and now that Ferguson's back, he just hasn't done anything. So I'll keep playing that. I think it's a good spot for tight ends in general. Rico Dowdle's workload's been awesome. He's had at least 17 fantasy points in 3 straight. And the touches, 25-19, 25-22 over the last 4 games. It's not the best matchup. I do prefer the passing game, but Dowdle's not a terrible play on FanDuel
either. Brandon Cooks, Tolbert, any of these cheap Dallas wide receivers over there on FanDuel? I mean, Tolbert is 4,900. Caught a touchdown last week, but really hasn't done much. Brandon Cooks getting a few targets here since returning over the last few weeks, but really hasn't done much. I think it's maybe just play some cheaper wide receivers from other games and focus on like CD here.
Yeah, I think so. All the Chicago guys are cheap on FanDuel. Coker's only 5,200, so I'd probably go there instead of the cheap Cowboys guys.
Well, you got McMillan on the other side too. Like if you wanted a cheap wide receiver, you could just play McMillan at 5,800. Like we didn't talk about him. I mean, Tim Patrick at 5,500. He's really cheap over there on FanDuel. So yeah, I mean, you mentioned Coker, Wando Robinson's down here. So a lot of cheaper wide receivers. I think I would prioritize over. And I mean, there's a lot of good wide receivers in the low 6s as well. Thielen, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, just a few names down there in the low 6s on FanDuel. So I would prefer those guys over the cheap Dallas wide receivers here. Morning grind game. And then we will get out of here. Again, we're recording early on Wednesday, so some of the stuff we normally talk about might not be up, but give me a quarterback you like for 300 plus passing yards this week.
Let's go. Even though he's not on the DraftKings slate, I'm going to go Baker Mayfield.
I like it. Man, there's a lot of quarterbacks I like this week. Give me God, It's so hard not to say Joe Burrow. Give me Kyler Murray to throw a lot this week. Probably, I don't know if he gets to 300, but I think it'd be close. Low on running back for a touchdown. We don't have projected ownership up yet. Someone that you think is going to be low in that scores.
Looks like there is some up on DraftKings at the moment. I'm not going to play a ton of him, but I do like your Jonathan Taylor call. About 10% ownership right now against Tennessee at home.
All right, hit the refresh. We got projected ownership. Jahmyr Gibbs, highest owned running back. Are you shocked? I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I like the Jonathan Taylor call. We talked about this already. Give me Saquon to score a touchdown this week. I know he'll probably get tackled at the one like 3 times, but give me Saquon to score a touchdown. Quarterback, wide receiver, stack for a touchdown.
I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams again.
Take mine. I knew you were going to take mine. I knew it. All right. No, it's okay. Give me Penix to score his first ever touchdown to Drake London. I don't know if he has a touchdown or not, so I guess I shouldn't say first ever touchdown, but give me Penix to London. Wide receiver for 8+ targets. Who do you got?
That's my answer every week, and he hits every week. Malik Neighbors.
He's like, not going to stop. I'm going to go to CeeDee Lamb, going back to that FanDuel slate. Tight end for a touchdown.
All right, so we'll take out the expensive tight ends, right?
Yeah.
I'll go Sam Laporta.
You and I are either going to have a good week or a bad week, and we'll probably be talking about having a good week or bad week together. I mean, I'm going to go strange with Ingram on the IR and Mac Jones probably trailing or something in this game. I don't even know I don't know what to expect in this game, but give me strange. Defense for 10+ points.
Ooh, forgot about this one. Cincinnati going up against DTR.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm going to go Minnesota to score 10+ points this week against Seattle. Even I like Minnesota defense way more if Howell's at quarterback. All right, early in the week, we'll go to the betting portion. If you don't like anything, just say it. Any against the spreads or money line bets you like this week?
Kind of like the Dolphins to win at home against the Niners. So I'm going to go with them -1.5.
Miami -1.5. I like it. Going back to what I just said, and I like the Minnesota defense a lot. I'm going to go Minnesota -3.5 this week. Any over/under bets you like?
I don't have any on my radar yet.
It's kind of where I'm at as well. I mean, I feel like there's maybe a couple spots that look juicy on paper, but nothing jumping off the page to me right now as far as over/unders. I really like my initial thought was to bet the Jets over 46 line, the Rams and the Jets. Rams still very much want to win every game right now because of how close the NFC West is. So I can see the Rams trying to put up a lot and Aaron Rodgers airing it out. So, I mean, if anything, I think that would be my lean is the over in that game. Any player props or pick 'em plays you like?
Like Romo Dunze over 42.5 yards. We talked about it. It's a great spot for Chicago's passing attack. Detroit, one of the worst teams in the NFL against receivers just because they're so good against the run and so good against tight ends. So, yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really – I usually look at, like, bets tonight as far as this. I was just quickly trying to pull up to see what James Conner line was at, and it's not up yet. So James Conner rushing prop is something that I'll probably jump on as soon as it's posted. I have a lot of interest in that against Carolina, like I do every single week. So that's one that as soon as it's posted, I'll probably jump on. And then I'll be looking at like going back to the well and like Devontae Adams stuff because I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I appreciate everyone joining. It was fun doing a daytime show. Just a lot of good running back plays this week. So lock in Gibbs and then hope to hit the other one or two in your lineups.
Yeah, I mean, running back, I feel like quarterback is kind of weak this week overall. Like I said, I don't like a lot of quarterbacks this week. So I think running back, I mean, I have a lot of narrowing down to do a running back this week for sure because I have a lot of names written down. So hope everyone has a fantastic week 16. We're back next week someday. I don't know what day yet because it is Christmas week, but be on the lookout for a show. Probably later in the week than our normal Wednesday kind of podcast because, hey, Wednesday, like Derek mentioned, is Christmas. So hope everyone has a great week 16. We're back. NBA podcast on Thursday, Wednesday night. Have a good one. See you then.